Okay, so hello. I'm here to invade your privacy again. Um, all of you, not all of you, many of you are in your internship, and so some of this is going to be old hat for you, but it's not really a bad thing to review some things. And I'm going to go over something that I'm sure that you interns are familiar with. One or two of you are not in as far along as that yet, but and this still won't be, excuse me, I'm sorry, good barbecue. This still won't be, it still may not be new to you. So let's get going, and hopefully this will be informative. What I want to talk about is a version of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. As most of you know, that's the biggie. That's the one that seems to be the go-to, and that's fine. It's been proven that there's recidivism rate that's kind of yucky sometimes, but nonetheless, it's a good thing. I worry sometimes that psychologists may use and counselors may use this without exploring other methods. But let's don't worry about that right now. Let's worry about a version of this called cognitive behavioral family therapy. And I'm just going to brush over a few things, highlights that I think are important that for you that don't really know much about it. Maybe, I doubt it, but maybe there's somebody that's never heard of it. This is an introduction kind of a thing. For the rest of you, it's probably, again, old hat. So where we go. How does this CBFT work? And that's basically what this short discussion is going to be about. What does it do? What does it focus on? It focuses on each member in the family, each member's thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and which ones are having a negative impact on other members of the family. Obviously the outcome is that feelings are hurt. Or you're scared if you have a member who has an explosive temper, for example. How does that affect the rest of the family? So on and so forth. So, what is it that's being affected? Well, yeah, their emotions, but it's their core belief system. So I'm attacking, if I'm negative, I'm attacking your core belief system. And what does that core belief system involve? It involves your beliefs about yourself, both conscious and not really necessarily in a Freudian way. I read a really good discussion about this the other day. But the conscious views of those, and then the unconscious. And let's call unconscious not a Freudian unconscious, but an unconscious as in maybe his preconscious definition, how you're vaguely aware, but you're not using that information. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to address that. You can come and visit my intro to psychology class. I'm going to blow their mind with a new view of Freudian psychology. It's really cool. It's an updated version. Okay, I won't go down that road. So negative core beliefs. What does that involve? What's a cause? Gosh, I'm getting myself tongue tangled here. What is a result of that I said it? Unhealthy communication. Because we don't know what the belief system really is. Family members begin to resent one another. So there's a need for CBFT. How do we fix that? There's a good example that's given in a source that I was reading the other day. And the example would be in terms of core belief. You view yourself as a single entity. Yeah, there are others around you, but your focus is on me, on you. So the example was very simplistic. I'm thirsty, I'm alone, so I'm going to get myself a glass of water. Neutral emotion, right? But there's somebody else in the house with you. maybe your spouse, and that's the examples used, the spouse. So your spouse, their core belief, nobody likes me. You got to remember that this is all coming from communication in the past. This thought, emotion, behavior stuff that we just talked about seconds ago. So why didn't my spouse get me something to drink? And they go stomping out of the house. Their emotion is irritated and upset. And your thoughts, my spouse is upset but isn't telling me why. I'll go to the garage and isolate. And the emotion is loneliness and fear of abandonment. Do you see how that plays out? Do you see where the lack of communication, the expression of these negative things, what's the key word here? Communication. Simple as pie. So that's what we want to do. We want to communicate. You, by behaving these ways in this example that I just read to you and talked to you about, I did read them, yes, you're reinforcing one another's core values. You're reinforcing one another's core beliefs. So in cognitive behavioral family therapy, you want to address each family member's core beliefs. Hey, let's examine your thinking patterns. What are you thinking about? Are you self-centered, which is selfish, for example? So I begin to have you see that there's a communication problem here. Most people will go through a relationship, never recognize that. That's where the unconscious part of this thing comes in. That's why I said it wasn't a Freudian unconscious. It's a lack of recognition. So with an unhealthy dynamic like that, then there's not a chance for us to discuss any of this. What's going to happen? You guys know this. It's going to be addressed. Communications are going to be improper. It's going to be accusatory. It's going to be defensive. I had a couple that came to me one time, and we spoke a minute, and it didn't take but just a few minutes for me to realize you guys are not communicating. You're arguing. Communicate. Sit down and make a conscious decision. I'm not going to be defensive. Don't attack me, though, with the things that you find wrong or the things that are troublesome. Present them in a factual way. I'm going to prepare myself through my therapist to be able to listen to that without all of this emotional conflict. It's hard to do. You guys are out in the internship world, know it. It's the way it is. So start with this CBFT business. The benefits of it are the therapy itself is solution focused. So the benefits can be quickly attained. The positive changes can be quickly manifested. Family members are encouraged to start applying what they're being taught from the therapy. Do it right now. Don't wait. Okay, that's something for next week. No, go home, do it right now. Do it on the way home. It's that simple. It does more than just helping the family dynamic too. You're given tools, strategies, coping mechanisms, and you can use those not only in the family unit, but you take them outside. I've mentioned, maybe I didn't mention in this class, probably one of the others that you guys are in, about the Marines teaching me improvise, adapt, and overcome. That's what a Marine has to do to survive. And not only in boot camp, but when you get out in the fleet and you go to some far off land and nasty things are going on around you, you have to improvise, adapt, and overcome. It's called living. Surviving. So you can take these things outside of that Marine Corps realm and apply them in real life, and this too. Go to work with it. Go wherever you go and use these tools. It promotes healthier relationships, not only in the ones that you have, but in future relationships. What if your daughter or son gets married, and brings a new member, or you have grandchildren, whatever the case is. Brings a friend in. Maybe they want their friend to move in. I don't know. You pick an area that it can be incorporated into. It's self-empowering. It helps you gain control. It helps you feel like you're in control, and it can change your perspective of what's going on around you. Now, there's some components. I'll run over these really quickly, and I won't get in depth. I'm just going to give you, again, like I say in most of my classes, I'm giving you the tip of the iceberg. So let's look at the components of a CBFT therapy, and I'll give you the headings, and then I'll very, very briefly discuss them. If you want to jot these down: self-monitoring, self-instruction, rational analysis, and behavioral enactment. And all they're doing is telling you to be in charge of you. Self-monitoring: you observe and record specifics. What are the specifics? Physiological: what happens to you when you get mad? Cognitive: how am I understanding this? Behavioral: what am I expressing? Emotional and interpersonal processes. All these things going on up in your little kepi that are, that's Yiddish for head, that are taking place. And then identify and describe those things to yourself. You can use something called a DTR, daily thought record. You can integrate that into your daily family life. I know this sounds kind of hokey, but you're basically keeping a journal about what's going on in your life on a day-to-day basis relative to interaction within the family. The next heading is self-instruction. Think about the thought content. What were I thinking? What were my automatic thoughts when I had this encounter, and what could I do to correct those if they're negative and incorrect after I process and analyze these things? Those are also known as cognitive distortions. What happens? I act on anger. I don't think about what can be going on. It's a misappraisal of the situation potentially. What is it that's being said? Why is it being said? And how could it have been said differently? And these things are points of discussion. And then how do I modify what it is that I did when I reacted? Could we not have said, oh, wait a minute, but let's don't go there. Let's discuss this in the way it was presented. I know, again, sometimes this sounds hokey, but it works. The next big heading, rational analysis, a biggie. You collect data and then you build conclusions and judgments based on a sense of the information which is more positive, which is a more cognitive understanding, which sounds like a dichotomy, but it's not, of what went down. Objectively evaluate things around you, and then dismiss emotion-based stuff that caused disheartening kind of circumstances. And then the last, behavioral enactment. Conceptualize things. Fix sights on maladaptive behaviors. Fix sights on patterns, maladaptive patterns of behavior, and target those. Next, within the realm of this behavioral enactment, that's stage 1, by the way. Stage 2 is organize and set up experiments or even situations that elicit dysfunctional patterns of behavior. Now, this is working with the therapist. I should have mentioned that first. I'm sorry. Set these up and then have this action take place and then evaluate that. And then lastly, produce alternative behaviors. Produce alternative interaction patterns. And identify hidden emotions, hidden cognitions, and interpersonal behaviors and behavioral patterns and make all that transparent. When you said this to me, here's how I felt. Not in a defensive way, in a factual way. Okay, so 15 minutes worth, and I didn't want to go that long, but I wanted to get that across to you, and I hope it made some sense. Always email me with questions, and I'll be sure that I answer those things for you. All right, see you around.